Well, hello, everyone. It's your girl Gabrielle from A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. Welcome to a brand new episode of Hot Topics. So, we've been at this for a while, but in case you're new to the series, you have no idea who we are or who I am. Well, my name is Gabrielle, and this is the web series where we talk real talk about things in our line of scope. So things like education, employment, mental health, physical health, anything else that is steamy. And today we have an interesting discussion today. Today we're going to talk about attachment styles. So I'm very much looking forward to this conversation. And I have a guest with me who's going to help me out. Her name is Rhonda Johnson, and I'm going to tell you about her. So Rhonda Johnson loves to work with people who are economically disadvantaged and empowering them to reach their highest potential by using encouragement, motivational interviewing techniques, and active listening. She has previously worked with Guilford Child Development as a counselor intern with Nurse Family Partnership and worked extensively with mothers who are in poverty to position themselves to provide a better life for their children and themselves. She experienced great success with mothers helping motivate them to complete training to get their GED, obtain and keep employment, as well as modeling trusting and caring communication, as well as building strong relationships of accountability with the mothers and their families. She believes in the power of the individual to determine their choices of where they want to go. However, she believes it is critical that those who are in poverty are shown all of what is possible for them, such as economic prosperity, home ownership, safe homes, and colleges, if they follow the path laid out by the Family Success Center. A graduate of Appalachian State University with a major in criminal justice and political science, she also has an associate degree from GTCC and web technologies and received her master's from Liberty University in human services with a concentration in marriage and family. That is a mouthful. She enjoys spending time with her family, exercising, listening to audiobooks, researching mental health topics, and playing with her Yorkshire Terrier, Kofi. So I'm going to bring Rhonda to the stage right now. Hi, Rhonda. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm fine, Gabrielle. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm good. So
Good.
today we're going to talk about attachment styles. So I am looking forward to this conversation. And you have an interesting perspective on attachment styles. It definitely brings me back to my psychology major days. So
hmm
I am going to pass the baton to you and I'm going to have you dive right in.
Okay, thank you so much for that introduction. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Rhonda Johnson, and my my day job is a success coach at the Family Success Center here in Greensboro, North Carolina, through the United Way. And one of the major issues that I see in terms of dealing with the majority of the people we deal with are mothers in poverty is attachment styles, is how the mothers attach to their children and how they teach their children through that attachment, and how that really does either help or hinder throughout the rest of the children's lives, right? One of the things we focus on is we have a holistic two generational approach, right? So we're looking at the children who then become the mothers or the parents, and we are really trying to figure out ways to break the cycle of poverty. And what I've seen, it's not really the focus of my job, but what I've seen in my experience is that attachment really plays a huge role in poverty. Okay, so let me go back. What is attachment? So attachment is how we attach to our primary caregivers, usually the mother, but it can be any caregiver at the time of birth, probably about birth to toddler. It's how we attach to these caregiving figures and how they attach to us. So, for example, when we cry, so we've all been around babies who cry a lot, and we've all seen different reactions. We probably all had different reactions, like somebody picked that kid up, right? And sometimes it's like, well, look, I heard it was better to let them cry. Okay. So where this gets sticky is that's attachment, right? Whether we decide to pick the child up or not determines those first little neuron synapses firing. I don't know the exact term, but how we attach to them. So when we pick the baby up, that skin to skin contact, that safety that comes from that, it's all unconscious now. That's where we begin to associate things, even like that young as newborns. And so that's part of, so they break attachment down into different styles. So if, for example, you're crying, so let's imagine we're all back in, we're babies and things like that, you're crying. So if your caregiver, your mother, primary caregiver, comes over, picks you up, comforts you, okay, this is where we learn, okay, all right, if I cry, my needs will get met. Okay, I'm crying, whatever my needs may be. So again, the only language we have as at any given time of development is what we have. So of course, as babies, we just know to cry. Okay. And so you cry, and you either, people are like, oh, she's wet, or oh, she needs this, oh, she needs that. And whatever our needs are, we hope that the caregiver will kind of keep piecing it together till like, okay, they stop crying. Okay. So that type of interaction with the baby begins the process. If there is any type of rupture, any type of interruption in the relationship, it begins the process of a secure attachment, where we understand that our needs, once we learn how to, say them, right? So of course we start off as babies, and as we get older, we begin to articulate those needs. That process begins a secure attachment. Okay. So so again, it's baby time, baby's crying, and the parent may be like, oh, I'm going to let him cry. So back in my day, aging myself, that was kind of the thing, right? Let them cry it out. Okay. Because the mindset was they'll cry till they get tired of crying, and, possibly learn not to cry anymore. Okay. However, again, these synapses, neurons are firing, and we're beginning to understand our world as babies. And it's like, whoa, I'm crying, hollering, screaming. And like there are people around me, and they're kind of looking at me, oh, wow, what, okay, maybe I stop crying. Maybe I cry louder. Maybe I need to do something else to get people's attention. Okay. So this creates what they call kind of like an anxious attachment, where we're like, okay, I'm crying. So, the baby's crying. And then eventually somebody's like, oh, geez, they're not going to stop crying. I'm going to come pick you up. Okay. So then you learn, okay. Again, the brain is a constantly moving machine, and it's making all these connections. Okay. So if I cry really loud, and I probably cry myself sick, right? Again, unconsciously, I will get attention. I mean, somebody around here is going to sit here and say, what's going on with this baby? Let me check on this kid. What's happening? Okay. I may get picked up. I may get a bottle given to me. I may get told to shut up, but hey, at least I'm getting attention. At least something's happening here. Right. So then we get that. And then there's two attachment styles: secure, anxious. So then it's baby time again. Baby's crying. And again, you're not getting that attention. No one's really coming to your rescue as you communicate the only way you know how, which is crying and just whatever it takes. Then if your disposition naturally is like, okay, all right, and you stop crying, right? So who knows? You cry yourself to sleep. You have that blanket near you that you can hold on to. Okay. You just stop crying. Okay. That's all we know. You just stop crying, and people say, such a good baby. After she'll cry 10 minutes and she'll be asleep. Okay. Not really. Okay, so what's happening again? We got that process going, you guys. We got that process, that unconscious process going on. And we are making these connections. Okay, well, when I cry, no one's going to listen. Okay, so I'm going to stop crying and I'm going to soothe myself. I'm just either going to stop crying, I'm going to have this pacifier, or I'm just going to just lay here. Okay, so then we have that going on, that type of child. So we have three: secure, anxious, and avoidant, right? And meaning now, if people, and sometimes we've seen there's research where if the child is avoidant, if there is attention put on the child actually moves away. The child actually is like, no, you know, in their own way, don't touch me. I'm good. I got me, you know? So again, secure, the child is, they know when they cry, they're going to be soothed, they're going to be comforted. Too anxious, they don't know. They don't know. So it's like I have to make a big scene. I have to let people know, and the only way I know possible, I need your attention, I need your help. Third, avoidant. I'm good. I don't need you. I'm going to comfort myself. Fourth is disorganized. Kind of the rarest of the four, where the child does experience the same thing. So the baby's crying and they experience, sometimes they'll cry, get no attention. Sometimes they cry, they get a lot of attention. Sometimes they don't cry and they get a lot of attention. Sometimes it's like, oh, what's happening? And so they begin to disorganize. They can't really make sense of the world. And again, that's kind of the pattern of attachment, is making sense of your world through caregiving and how people respond to you or don't respond to you. So as we move through the stages of development, these things create a lot of turmoil. And then we get to adulthood, right? So this is kind of where I'm going to end it here. The securely attached people in adulthood tend to have better, healthier relationships through better communication. Okay. They know that you can be out of their sight and they don't have to be calling you all the time and wondering where you are, what you doing, who you with. I'm tripping, they don't do that. They learn to trust, right? Anxious attachment, that's more of the calling. Where are you? Who you with? The daily checking in. Do you love me? Just constantly needing reassurance. Avoidant, that's the person that you kind of don't know what's on their mind in the relationship. You kind of got to pull back the layers and kind of dig deep to figure out, okay, is this person into me? Do they love me? Like, it's the reverse, right? And the thing is that everybody in these stages do feel deeply, but it's just getting their needs met enough to feel safe enough to communicate that is hard. And then disorganized attachment is characterized in adulthood by disruptive, chaotic, drama-filled, and at times violent-filled relationships because of this disorganization of the mind when it comes to relationships and when it comes to getting their needs met. How do I get my needs met? They may do extreme things to get their needs met. So that's my brief introduction, to attachment. Yeah, and you could tell I'm very excited about it. I really think, especially when we try to help ourselves understand how to communicate with our children and how to communicate with our significant others and even ourselves, it's important to know your attachment style.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. So you mentioned a lot. So I guess
Yes.
so the idea behind knowing your attachment style is the way that the way excuse me, the way that you learn to bond with your parents when you were a baby, it affects the way that you develop relationships in adulthood. Is that safe to say?
Yes. Yes. That is very safe to say. It's one of the reasons why, well, this is anecdotal, but it's one of the reasons why I feel like, say, oh, you marry somebody like your mother, you marry somebody like your father. These are the styles we're used to. So sometimes they may have habits that seem to be kind of randomly like, you know, a parent or caregiver, but we're attracted to that. These are the things that make us feel normal, if you will, to have this type of relationship with this type of person. So yes, it very much impacts our adult relationships.
So, I mean, the thing is, it's not like, um, so I'm guessing you're kind of working backwards because because I would think like you've never met their parents or you've never seen them as babies, right? So I would imagine when clients come to you, they already come to you, I guess, with I don't know what the word for it is, but with their attachment issues as adults. And then from there, I'm guessing you work backwards and figure out, well, this is how they learn to bond with their parents, when they're younger. So is that how you work in terms of you like the adult will come to you and then you just kind of work backwards and figure out about about their upbringing?
At times, if it really figures prominently um, in their story, what they tell me, then we do. A lot of times, I can just glean it from how we talk. Um, there are people who just have certain dispositions and certain things that they say. So there's some people I see who say, yeah, but I handle it, and these are keywords to me. When I hear people say, yeah, but I got it, I handle it, it's all good, I don't da, da, da. Those are phrases to me that tells me, okay, we have an attachment situation here, and it makes me want to delve deeper. And if they allow me to, a lot of people, understandably so, are very guarded about their childhood because it's quite traumatic. Um, but if they allow me to, I try to, okay, who's the main support figure in your life? Is it a grandmother? Who is it? Is it anyone? So if you tell me, okay, yeah, I don't really have a big supports in my life, that tells me a lot about your attachment style. And it tells me a lot about how I have to talk to you as a coach. So I know that I have to build what I call the adult attachment. I have to be very careful what I say to you because you're letting me into these small spaces, but you're waiting for me to disappoint you. And I acknowledge that. So I I try not to delve again. I try not to delve too much into people's childhoods because most of the people I work with have had traumatic childhoods. I try to work from where we are, but because of my research in it and just the way my mind works, I have a pretty decent idea of as much as I can of how their childhood went. I hope that answered your question.
It did, thank you. So let's break it down. So you just talked about keywords. So can you delve into the keywords or the key phrases for each attachment style? I think you said secure, anxious, disorganized, and
Avoidant.
avoidant. Yeah.
Yes.
So do you mind delving into the keywords or phrases for each attachment style?
Sure. Absolutely. So for me, a secure attachment style um, is someone who's just open. And this is another thing that shows me that I call it somebody got to you really good, meaning somebody you had stuff going on in your childhood and somebody positive intervened. I have a part in the intake assessment where we ask for strengths. What do you love about yourself? If you can tell me three things, right? And you can tell them to me without judgment, right? So I have a lot of mothers say, I'm a mom. Okay, that's a beautiful thing. That's a strength. That's something you love about yourself, right? I encourage them to do that. That tells me, okay, you're on the more secure side. You're on the more secure side. If you can tell me about your children's strengths, because to me, secure attachment says that you can see the world, even if it's not going the way you want it to, you can see the positivity in it. You can see the gratitude in it. Okay. Anxious attachment is quite literally, like I said, I have people who are like texting me, emailing me, should I make this move? Should I make that move? Do I need to do this? And to me, it's a constant questioning. Okay. And, you know, should I buy this? Should I do that? Should I this? That to me says, okay, anxious. And, you're trying not to get judged. You think I'm going to judge you. Okay. Um, Avoidant is the people who are like, they use phrases like, I got this. Um, they use phrases like, actually, one that's interesting to me is I asked somebody, how you feeling? How you doing? They literally said, ask me next week. Okay. So you're trying to avoid the question. You're trying to sidestep it because, now life has gotten too real for you. And you're trying to present a picture to me. This actually happened. And I just said, okay. Disorganized, I have not seen as much. Again, I think it's kind of rare, and these people tend not to really bond at all. From what I've seen, it's just hard to really get in on them. You could just kind of tell by the story, like our intake and things like that, that there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of chaos going on, and it's very difficult to get in with them. Very difficult without getting pulled into their drama and their trauma. So.
Oh, thank you so much for that. So, all right. So earlier you talked about each attachment style, you would address it in a different way.
Mhm.
So do you mind delving into how you would address as a coach each attachment style?
Okay, absolutely. So I already said like what they would say, right? So of course, a secure attached person, I'm like, tell me more. Even with them, I'm like, tell me more about the positives going on in your life, right? Again, what are you grateful for? And actually, my assistant director came up with this, and it was really cool. Just really focusing on the positives with the children, because of course, women, we want to deflect stuff from us, and this here is more positive. I feel more comfortable talking about the positives about my kids. Okay, let's talk about that. Okay, but then I bring it back around to especially those that can't really give me something that they love about themselves. Then I bring it back around because to me, I'm shifting their mindset when I say, okay, let's talk about what's going on with Kofi, um, and they're like, oh, he's a great kid. Da, 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 da. Okay, let's bring it back around to you, because it's very important for me, especially those who I feel are more secure in their attachments, to look at the positivities and the positive qualities of themselves, and we can build on that. The anxious people, I smile because they're a little more difficult in the sense that constant reassurance. And what I do is I try to get them to understand they're in a state of mind, right? So if you're in a state of indecision, so again, that's what I feel when you need that reassurance. That's indecision, okay? So as I'm building an attachment with them, so I'm building an attachment with everybody. I call it an adult attachment style, right? We don't want to recreate the anxiety. So I don't judge. What I do is I step them backwards, because by the time they're asking me question after question after question, they're whipped up. They're in that anxious spiral. Okay. So we try and bring it down to, okay, what got us here? And usually, like, some people, it's money. Money is such it's for everybody, whether, no matter what your social economic status. Money to me is just, it's nerve-wracking, it's scary to think about, and before we know it, we're just thinking all kinds of things. And so that's where I start, right? So let's say if it's about money, we start with, okay, here's a budget, here's what we talked about, how much can you afford? Okay. And to do these things as a conversation, and ultimately, and this is what once we get to that point, it's on them. I leave it up to them. And this is what helps calm them. See, my whole function in that point is to calm down that storm in the mind, because I know, and eventually I'll get the story where this is how they grew up. They grew up with a lot of people coming at them with this should haves, and you need to do this, you need to do that, where I don't do that. You're an adult, you know, and you've made bad decisions, you made good decisions, okay? So let's try to make the best decision that we can. And I've seen that really work. I've seen it really work where I'm not taking control, I'm not judging, I'm just making space. I'm making space for us to sort of calm that down. Let's bring it down. Let's try and think clear, okay? Because all these things, again, are automatic responses. Avoidant people, a little harder, a little harder. So what I've learned is I toss little encouragement cookies at them, okay? And it's not insincere, right? I try to pick out something, because we all want to encourage. I'm an encourager. I'm an encourager. I'm a fixer, right? So I'm like, yeah, we can do this. I want to cheer you on, but I'm like, that can come across as inauthentic. So what I do for the avoidant people is something that they've said to me, or something I've seen them do. Like an example of one, she did a video for our organization, and it was a great video. Okay, I made sure I brought that up our next conversation. I brought up that I really felt the impact of what she said. And I was grateful to be her coach. And I was grateful that she didn't have to do it, but she did. And I just kind of put that there and just see what she did with it. And she responded. Now, here's the thing. She's not an open book. She's not calling me, hey, this happened. But I'm feeling the walls come down, right? So, and again, I'm disorganized. I haven't really had much experience with that. So to recap, like I said, the secure people, I just keep focus. Let's focus on the strengths. Let's focus on the positives. The anxious people, let's find new ways to deal with that, what I call that thought storm. It's just thoughts are just storming. So find new ways to do that. The avoidant people, again, encouragement, encouragement and being there, and really being there, because they have really learned no one's there for them. And usually they will articulate that to me, that no one's been there for them. So
Interesting indeed. Okay. So where do, well, I guess before I ask that, can there be multiple attachment styles in one person? So could I be avoidant in the mornings and anxious in the evenings, or could I be secure during the weekday and avoidant in the weekends? Like, can they split up? Can you have multiple styles in one person?
yes, I think you can. Again, this is anecdotal. I have no research to back this up, but I think that in certain circumstances, you can be. You can be, if you're outside of work, you can be a very securely attached, awesome, not awesome, not saying everybody's not awesome, but you can just be a person who doesn't feel like I have to check in with people. I have to check, do they like me, this and that. There are times when it doesn't cross your mind. But then we can get into other circumstances around people who may trigger us, people who may remind us of things. And we do get anxious. We do get insecure. And then we may turn around and become avoidant. I also see it change as we age, right? So sometimes as we get old, I feel as we get older and we get more stuck in our ways, especially with COVID and things like that, some of us learn to detach from social connection. Okay. We learn to avoid people for whatever reason. Okay. I think the key is to know the signs, if you will, and to know yourself in those moments, right? And then to say, okay, I always like to, in self-examination, like why am I being avoidant? If I feel like I'm a securely attached person, why in this circumstance do I feel avoidant? And I think it's worth exploring if it's something that bothers you. But yes, I believe, just the human spectrum of emotion and personality. I mean, I don't think we'd be human if we didn't switch that up sometimes. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. So what about where do people, like the people who are really needy, um where do they fit in terms of attachment style? Like they really, they're afraid to be alone and they always have to have somebody around them, or they always have to have a boyfriend, they always have to have a girlfriend, people like that. Are those examples of anxious attachment styles?
That's what I would say. Yes, definitely. And probably once they get into the relationship, showing a little bit of avoidance as well. Yeah, because they constantly need that reassurance from another human being that they're lovable. So at its base is the question, am I lovable? Right? And if I'm not, then what's wrong with me? And then how can I get the love? How can I get it? Whatever love represents. So love for me could be sex, it could be money, it could be anything, right? And so I have a constant need for that. And I have a constant need for reassurance that I have to have that. So I'm calling you, I'm texting you, I'm doing things that let me check the camera. I'm pretty sure are looked at as strange or, crazy behavior. But that's how much, that's what I want to emphasize. That's how much we need to feel that love, to feel it, FEEL, and to feel it, FILL. That's how much we need it, right? And until we can identify, I didn't get it, but as an adult, I can advocate for it and ask for it. Until we do that, that's where you will see that neediness. You will see that I need to know where you are. I need your passwords. I need this. I need that. Yes. So if you know somebody like that, that is somebody with an anxious attachment all day long. Yes.
So I'm wondering, in terms of, and that anxious attachment, can it elevate to dangerous levels? Like I'm thinking of like stalkers, um
Yeah.
yeah, I'm put it out there. It's our topics. So stalkers, rapists, people who sexually harass other people, groping. So I'm wondering, does the anxious attachment style elevate to dangerous levels?
I think it can. I think the tipping point is another type of thing going on, um, psychologically. Um, so I think that it can take you to that brink. Um, I think it can lead to some types of criminal behavior. Um, Again, because you don't see any other way. The person does not see any other way to get that need filled. Um, but I think also if you have another, or what is the word I'm looking for? Um, you have another mental um, illness or something else going on, that's the tipping point. I think if you have disorganized attachment, that has other things going on with it too, and that's more likely to lead to stalking and other criminal type behaviors. Anxious attachment is more of the clingy behavior, more of the neediness and things that we described earlier. What I try to do is separate, because it's hard, but to separate, escalating mental issues going on or other things going on inside with criminal. Um, and because I think our society does that a lot, especially if you find, somebody does something and there was a mental health diagnosis, there tends to be like this correlation that's not necessarily true. So I wanted to make a distinction between that. But good question though.
That's a fair point. So now let's bring it back to parenthood and parenting styles. So now that you're saying all this, what does it mean for parents? Like, should I pick my child up, whenever he cries, or should I let him cry, or, um, you know, switch it up every day? So, what does all this mean in terms of raising our children?
Sure, sure. Um, it's real funny because my director actually talked about this on Monday, and it was interesting. She did this example, and you can almost hear the groans during the Zoom. Everybody's like, "I ain't gonna pick up that baby crying like that. I ain't gonna do that," you know. Because again, like I said, that's the way I was raised, right? I was raised, and that was the time I was raised in, where it was like, you let them cry, because that's babies cry. That's what happens. Um, but as I was thinking about that Monday, I said, I think what's important is to hold the child, is to remember that attachment, that skin on skin. We need touch, we need that. But that's hard to remember as a busy parent. Things are going on. What I think is key is key moments as the child develops. So my thing is, do your best with that. But once the child develops language in English, this is where you can stem the tide. So if you didn't hold them and things like that, this is where you can change it. About the age of 5 or 6, and they're in school, and they're learning, and they're around other people, and they're learning, themselves in the world for the first time. This is where we begin to open a dialogue. So if we didn't catch that attachment, if we didn't hold them all the time, if we did not let them know we are a safe space, as we're trying to do, then let us do that with our language at that age. Okay. That's checking in with your child. Okay. And this is something that you don't have to necessarily start when they're able to understand. This is something that we can do through gesture, through motions. Okay. So if you didn't hold them, hug them. Hug them. Again, the key is physical, safe touch, right? Another thing is watching what you say. So if you're upset with the child, let's watch what we say, right? So not you stupid, you're dumb, all those things right on the slate of who we are. And it takes a lot of work to unwrite it, if you will, or erase it. But as the child gets older, check in with them. How was your day? How are you doing? And what we do is we open up that safe space so that when things start to happen, the child is like, my mom, my dad is a safe person to come to. Now, I know it sounds hokey and it sounds crazy, but it's something that if we provide that with our child, they won't go out to seek that validation. They won't go out to seek that safety, right? And again, it's unconscious. We don't see it as safety. It's like just somebody I can talk to. I can talk to this person. We want to be that person. So even if they're, blah, 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 about something that happens in school, understand those are the building blocks. So as they get 10, 11, 12, I can come to my mom. Okay. So if you aren't, and some people just aren't, right? So one of the mothers I met last year, she was like, I did not feel like holding my baby. When they put him on my chest, she's like, I didn't feel anything. I said, okay. But you know what? I was like, he's running around here laughing and giggling. I mean, one of the most securely attached kids I had ever seen. He was just doing his thing, and he knew she was there. So at some point, she was able to create that. And that's what I'm saying. It's not set in stone if you don't do it. I would like everybody to be able to hold and love on their child when they're young, but that's not always possible. But as they grow, as they develop, that's when we need to do that. That again, like I said, they need the hugs. They need the attagirls. They need that. And as time goes on, we can express when we're disappointed. We can express that I'm disappointed in you. I wish you would have done better. Express it like that, not you're dumb, you're stupid, you this, you that. I think about it like this. As an adult, do you want to hear that? Right? We don't want to hear that as adults, even though we know better, right? It's the same thing. It's never okay. So we have to think about it like that. If we want our kids to thrive, we got to speak thriving and life into them. It's the same thing in our own lives. If we want our lives to thrive, we've got to speak life into it. Oh, so I go
Awesome.
on, girl. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Feel free to go on. So now I'm wondering, so based on what you said, so those attachments can change over time. So you might start off anxious maybe in your elementary school years, but and maybe the mom decides to, you know what, I realize I'm not giving you as much affection as I should. I'm gonna hug you more. I'm gonna praise you more. So that maybe in adolescent years, it switches to more secure, more secure attachment. So basically what you're saying is those attachment styles can change over time depending on the child's environment. Did I get that right?
Yes, yes, yes. And I believe that even, in adulthood, it's much harder. It's much harder work, but I believe that we can all move towards a more secure attachment as we get older as well. Um, and that's just through, therapy, coaching, um, and just understanding more of yourself. Yeah.
Okay. And I'll end on this last one. So I'm wondering if do you find, I guess in your experience, do you see certain attachment styles as you come across certain populations? So let's start with gender. Do you find that you find one type of attachment style, a common style you'll see in men versus women?
Yes. Yes. I think women are a lot more anxiously attached, where I think men are a lot more avoidant. Yeah. And I think that's just because of gender roles. Um, I've and I just feel like, again, people's a lot of people that I serve, just the mothers were young. The mothers did not have the wherewithal to raise the child. So the child was literally left with someone. Okay. And there's usually, I keep shaking the camera, I'm sorry. There's usually no contact. This has been kind of mind blowing. No contact between the mother. So if the mother leaves the child with the grandmother, there's no contact with the grandmother or the child. And so, and most of the time it's girls, and they grow up just very, you know, they just need, it's funny. They grow up needy, and then they end up, in situations where they're having a lot of kids, but they mistrust women. They mistrust women. I don't like women. I don't like a lot of women. I don't like hanging around a lot of women. When I hear that, I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. So that's another one of the things I hear too, is I don't like a lot of women because women are messy, women are this, women are that. And I said, okay, that's something having to do with that. Um, a lot of them, well, so one of the, I actually coached a married couple, and the man was very avoidant. But he was avoidant because he didn't want to start a fight. And so what I was able to do with them was I helped her because she would escalate quickly. Like, I mean, she wasn't going off in the session, but I could tell if we weren't in a session and I was a fly on the wall, she would be 1,000. And so he just would just, and so, I had to get to where with him, I had to say, okay, so this is where we say how we feel. We don't leave the room. We don't get on the phone. We don't do other things to distract. In this moment, this is what we do. And the thing that I liked about the guys, he's very receptive, you know, and that's what kind of got me. He was avoiding when we started, but he seemed as we talked, he got more receptive. So yeah.
Okay. And what about different ethnicities and races. I don't know if you've come across that. Do you
Hmm.
find that there's certain attached comp there are certain styles that are common in certain ethnicities, like do are maybe there's one common style you find in Black people versus Caucasian versus Asian versus Latino. I don't know if you've come across that in your experience.
I have. The Caucasian and Latino population are a lot more, they're a lot more open, a lot more receptive. I wouldn't necessarily say securely attached, but that tells me that it may be a cultural thing that um, they're just more open with what's going on with them. Um, Black folk are more avoidant and more anxious. And again, the majority I work with are Black, well, women. And actually, yeah, the Caucasian, Asian, and Latino are very open, very, very open, very receptive, very, um, they're just thank you, thank you, thank you, love you, love you. Um, Black women, understandably so, are a lot more guarded, a lot more anxious, a lot more avoidant. And I feel that this is because I feel like they feel that just how I talk, that there's judgment. So that's something I've got to watch. I try not to come across as judgmental, but I could see, how that can come across as judgmental. And it's something that I'm trying to explore how to break it down, how to really break down those walls. Um, because I understand that because it's just an anxiously fraught world that we live in. And as a Black woman, you got it coming at you from all sides, I believe. And if you have kids and you have multiple kids, um, I'm just going to be honest with you, even where I work, I mean, it does carry, unfortunately, a stigma. Um, and no matter how we try to kind of, say, okay, look, we're gonna work with it, it carries a stigma. And I understand why the anxiety is there. I understand why the guard is up. I understand why the connections are harder to make. I understand it because um, you have to protect yourself. Yeah. So that's what I've seen in my dealings with this population. Yeah.
All right. And we're gonna wind down now. So do you have any final advice for the viewers watching? Anything that you wish to share?
Yes. I wish wish I would have looked up a resource, but again, the attachment styles I talked about were secure, anxious, avoidant, and disorganized. If you're a Googler, you can Google them. Again, I wish I would have gotten a reputable resource, but no matter where you fall on that spectrum, there's no judgment. You didn't do anything wrong. You're not a bad person. You are a human being like the rest of us, trying to make it through. So I hope that this helps shed light, and I hope that this kind of piques your curiosity and you do go look it up, but don't assign any judgment or any labels to yourself for it. You know, it's not your fault. Okay. So just keep on keeping on, keep the faith.
Sorry, one last question just came to me. So someone with the secure attachment, I'm wondering why do they need help at all? So it's someone who's already secure and who knows they can rely on people, trust people. Why
Mhm.
why do they need help at all? Why do they need coaching at all?
Well, and they may not need coaching for attachment issues. They may need coaching for just they're stuck in a particular place in life. Just because you're securely attached doesn't mean that you don't have issues. It just means that when it comes to other people in your life, you're more open. You're more likely to try things because you have a safe base. But that's the thing. That's the beauty, I think, of mental health is that it's for everybody. I mean, everybody could use someone to talk to, just somebody you could just take down those barriers with and know that you're in a safe space.
So in your coaching, it's not like you are addressing the attachment style, you're kind of using it. It's like there's the like the overall issue, and then you detect the attachment style that they are presenting, and then you're using it to address the primary overall issue. So it's not like you're addressing the style, you're using their style to address the primary issue. Is that safe to say?
Yes, at where I am, they would call that more therapeutic approach. So that's kind of frowned upon to go directly. I do use what I find out about people's attachment styles, a jumping off point to help them with their issue, of course, but to also help kind of soothe that attachment trauma as much as I can. But yes, you're exactly right.
All right, fabulous. So I'm going to put up your banner right
Thank you.
now. So you guys, you can find Rhonda Johnson on social media. Her Facebook and Instagram are scrolling below. And are you taking clients for coaching right now?
I am. Yeah. So you just message me through Facebook. Yeah, we can talk. And yeah, I definitely like to see how I can help you.
All right, you heard that yourself. So if you are looking for coaching services, you have some issues. Well, I don't say you have issues, but you have a problem that you would like solved. You can reach out to Rhonda Johnson. Her social media is scrolling below. You can send her a private message on Facebook or Instagram. So definitely follow her on Instagram, reach out to her. She is there for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So Rhonda, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you. This is great. This is fun.
All right, I'm going to put you backstage. And it's just you and me, guys. All right, so let me put up my banner. All right, so we have reached the conclusion of our episode. Thank you so much for joining us. Please check out our YouTube channel for more videos and clips. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let us know what you thought of this episode by leaving a comment in the comments section below. And if you want to learn more about A Step Ahead Tutoring Services, if you want to learn about our services, our workshops, you want to learn more about this web series, you could find us. We are on a lot of social media channels. You could find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Eventbrite, and WhatsApp. You could also visit our website, www.astepaheadtutoringservices.com. And as you see, our contact information is scrolling below. And one last thing before I close. We are also seeking financial contributions to our crowdfunding campaign on ifundwomen.com. iFundWomen is the go-to funding marketplace for women-owned businesses and the people who want to support them with access to capital, coaching, and connections. So I'm going to play a video that will explain more.
Hey there, have you heard of us? We're a small team of tutors here at A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. We believe that education and information should be accessible to everyone, regardless of income, race, or creed. We're dedicated to making this happen, but we need your help. Please consider donating to our crowdfunding campaign. No amount is too small. Your donation will allow us tutors to remain employed, offer free and low-cost services, and reach out to families nationwide. With your help, we can tackle the academic challenges of our students and the emotional, mental, and behavioral changes that result from these challenges. As a bonus, we can improve our communities in the process. Support us today. We're a for-profit company. Your donation may not be tax deductible. Please consult a tax professional.
Yes, so please make a donation to our crowdfunding campaign. Your donations will be greatly appreciated. And that is it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Please tune in to the next episode. I will see you next time. Signing off. Holding my mic, but signing off. Bye.